Perspective is a word that generally describes how we see things. There are two basic types. Aerial perspective is a natural phenomenon. You see this to some extent every day, where distant objects appear lighter, bluer, and less distinct the farther away they are. This happens because the air through which we see things contains moisture and dust particles and other stuff, so that the farther away something is, the more particles there are between us and the objects that we're looking at, and it changes the way they appear. Linear perspective is the way we see man-made objects, mostly geometric, such as buildings, and that includes both interior and exterior. The Renaissance masters were absolutely passionate to learn how to represent three-dimensional objects realistically on a two-dimensional surface, such as paper or canvas. They noticed something. They noticed that parallel lines that move away from us appear to converge, and that they converge on a horizontal line that matches our eye level. And the place where the lines converge and disappear is called a vanishing point. Vanishing points, at least for our purposes, are always at eye level. So, in order to better understand how we see, we need to define a few things. When we are looking anywhere, the line that stretches out from our eyes straight out in front of us is called line of sight. And what we are looking at directly is at the end of our line of sight. However, that's not the only thing that we are seeing, obviously. Our eyes have peripheral vision, meaning that we are actually aware of other things that are not directly in front of us, directly in our line of sight. And as humans, we perceive an area that is approximately 180 degrees, and that would be 90 degrees on each side of our line of sight. And we call this 180 degree area our field of vision. The laws of linear perspective assume that you, as a viewer, when you're looking straight ahead, are looking on a level. And we call this level line the eye level. Linear perspective assumes that the eye level is parallel to the ground upon which we're standing. In other words, not looking up and not looking down. Why is that important? Well, it's because everything we see as it travels away from us, obviously it gets smaller, but as it travels away from us, it appears visually to approach this line that we call eye level, and it eventually gets so small that it disappears on that line, and where it disappears would be a vanishing point. In this city scene, all the lines that are parallel to our line of sight, and there are a lot of them, appear to converge at one point straight ahead of us and on our eye level. In this photograph, we're looking down a crowded airport hallway. Pay special attention to the man in the green circle. If we follow the lines that are parallel to our line of sight in this photograph, we see that they converge at a point straight ahead of us, close to the man's face. And what this means is that we're looking straight at him, the camera's pointed straight at him, and that he is about the same height as we are. If you look at these men walking down the hallway to the left, they are, also about human height, right? And so they look smaller the farther away they are. Their size diminishes with distance. If they get far enough away, they become so tiny that they disappear. And again, that's right at the vanishing point on our eye level. Now, a word about eye level and the horizon, because these things tend to get confusing. I want to try to make it clear from the beginning. Eye level and horizon are just not the same thing, or rarely are, and I'll show you what I mean. The horizon is where objects that we see end and the sky begins. Eye level is different. Eye level is the line that corresponds to our height in the landscape. So in nature, even horizons are sometimes hard to see. Other times it's a little bit clearer. The only time when the horizon and the eye level match is when you're looking out over a vast flat surface that recedes so far away from you that it disappears on your eye level. In cities where there are lots of large geometric objects, we can see our eye level more easily. It's where everyone else's eye level is, if they're about your same height. It's also where lines parallel to our line of sight appear to be horizontal rather than slanted. So if you look at this photograph and look at the lines on the buildings, you'll see that most of them are slanted, but the ones at eye level are horizontal. I'm very excited to explore this with you. Next week we'll begin our study of basic linear perspective.